Hello, this is Lorraine Appleyard here, bringing you a tarot card reading for the full moon on October 2021. This full moon in the month of October is called a hunter's moon, and it's occurring in the sign of Aries at this time. This full moon is going to help rectify some of the issues that we've had with communication that we've experienced lately, thanks in part to the Mercury retrograde that we've experienced. And it will also help to find some more balance in your life. The name Hunter Full Moon comes from a mixture of the Native American and colonial American and European sources. The full hunter moon traditionally it signals a Okay, so every tarot reader does their cards a little bit differently, does their layouts a little bit differently. I have done the Celtic cross here, and how each tarot reader reads is often how they were taught, and so this is how I had been taught by my teacher mentor. And here I feel it's very fitting, this card that we have sort of in the present situation here. And we have the Strength card, and it's fitting because we're at the full moon, and full moons are very significant. And it is the Strength card. The Strength card represents, it is a major arcana card, and it represents our soul learning. It represents the lessons that our soul is undergoing at this time. And so we see that the lady in this picture here is overcoming the lion, not by brute force, but by her inner strength. And she is fearless in the face of this foe. And so being mindful that you have the current strength, you have the strength within to be able to deal with the current situation, and just being able to tap into that. Now we have the Page of Swords that is coming in, the energy is coming into this particular situation, and this represents obstacles or challenges, and this is a young person that may be in the situation. Now the page suits cards do not always represent people. It may represent the situation or the individual that's receiving the reading, but in this particular situation, it may also relate to a young person. And so we have a young person that may be affecting the situation. And as it is swords, it represents communication, the swords. It also represents some kind of risk on some level, some kind of conflict on some level. It might mean that there is some kind of mental conflict that is occurring. So just being aware of that. The Page of Swords really represents that there may be some new kind of line of thought coming up or studying. And so it may represent a young person where there's some conflict, but it does represent mental activity. The swords represent the mental communication. It is an air sign. And so the energy that's coming in represents some kind of mental activity, conflict in some way. Now, at the basis of this particular layout, we have the Seven of Cups. Now, the Seven of Cups are never one of my favorite cards. It's always a bit of a wake-up card for me. And we have this card at the bottom of the layout representing the foundation, that which everything has sprang from. And it shows an individual looking at many, many cups here, looking at many different ideas, and it does represent emotions, relationships, the cups being emotions, but it's showing that there has been perhaps some daydreaming, that has been occurring, and not being clear on focus, and just not knowing what direction to take here, sort of perhaps looking at everything and not being able to really have a good, clear idea of what it is that you wish to achieve. Now, we have another page card here, and this represents the energy that's just recently passed. And this shows that there has been some growth. That shows that this will most certainly be related to some learning. And I always relate this to a soul learning too. Sometimes it's a formal learning, a formal education. Again, it might involve a young person in your life, but so there's some learning, there's some education, and there is also some growth in the material, some growth in terms of prosperity. It is very slow growing, and so it may not even be almost notable to you, but there is indeed some growth that has been occurring. And at the top of the layout here, we have the Eight of Swords. Now, the Eight of Swords, to me, it represents our fears. It represents feeling bound and being stuck in a situation. Now, what's interesting to note is that the individual in these cards, that she's only very loosely bound, and the blindfold is very loose also. And so she's able to remove that which binds her, able to take off her blindfold and see clearly. And it really represents our fears and our own sort of paralyzed by our own thoughts or by our own insecurities. And so, and feeling also cut off from our emotions, not fully aware of our own emotions and intuition, but just feeling trapped or stuck in the situation. And this card is what oversees the situation. So being mindful that we do not want to be putting our energy into our fears, okay? And just being mindful that it is something that we're able to release ourselves from. This particular card here, we have in the number 7 position, that which represents our inner self. And this is one of the most auspicious cards in the deck, representing contentment and happiness and the birth of new things. However, in this particular position, it shows that we're not really connecting with that. It shows that we're not really connecting with some of the gains that we've had. And this is a major arcana card, and so again, it's part of our soul learning. And I find this I'm looking at the major arcana cards in this particular layout, and I just realized I've actually gone over this card here in number 6. We have the Devil, and so I'm really seeing a connection between all of these cards. And so the Devil, although it looks very frightening, this is the energy that's before us. It is also a major arcana card representing our soul learning, and this is showing us that there are big fears, things that are keeping us bound from moving forward in our current life. And it often these are the things that just keep us bound in a position. So this may represent codependent relationships. It may represent some addictions. I strongly find that it represents fear also. And so these are all things to have a look at. But they're that which keeps you chained to a current situation. And it ties in really well with the number 8 swords here. So we can see that there's big soul learning that's occurring at this time. And this is the energy that's before you and really needs to be understood. And then coming back here to in the number 7 position, we have the Sun card, which is very auspicious. And I'm feeling that it's a matter of sort of becoming aware of the growth that we've had and being aware of the birth of new things that are occurring, but we're just not We're not fully connecting with that. Here, in this particular position, number 8, that represents our house or environment, it does show that there has been victories and achievements, that those around us have been able to see the gains that we've made, the growth that we've had, the success that we have had. And it really is for us to be able to be aware of this growth, of this success and movement. So this movement may represent a physical movement also, as in a change from house, but it's a movement in terms of where we're at. So it's our inner movement also. It's not just the physical movement. So there are definitely victories here and successes that others are aware of. In the next position, in our hopes and fears, we have the Four of Swords. And the Four of Swords is a very significant card. It really is a time for rest and recuperation and healing from a difficult period of time. And to allow ourselves to be able to do that, to take a moment to be able to have a rest. But there's fear around that also, so that you may be feeling that you do not have the ability or time to rest. But this is encouraging you to take that rest. And also, it's a very spiritual card to me, as the light of God shines down on us through the church window. And this particular card, as we can see it here, we're zooming in on the stained glass window. And it represents the light of God that's always supporting us and guiding us. So allowing ourselves to take the rest that we really need and deserve. At the outcome card, we do have the Three of Swords here. Now, the Three of Swords are not one of my favorite cards, but I have drawn 2 cards here to clarify that. And so the Three of Cards in the outcome, it does represent some disappointments or delays. But when I look at these 2 cards here to clarify that, we have the Hanged Man, which is reversed. The Hanged Man is also a major arcana card. It represents our soul learning. And so it shows that there is a need to let go of something, a need to release something that's no longer serving us. And so this can represent people or situations. It can also represent our own inner philosophies or outlooks. But there is something that is sort of outworn and not serving us anymore at this point in time and needs to be released. And once there is released, we're able to have a much greater insight. There's spiritual growth. There is an increase in intuition and feeling connected. And it's good. So we have the ability to turn that around. Even though it's reversed, we have the ability to change that energy blockage into something that's free-flowing. And we have the Ten of Cups here, which is a very auspicious card also. And the Ten of Cups represent contentment and happiness, enjoyment in relationships or in all aspects. And so although there's going to be some disappointments or delays, that if we take the time to work on ourselves, to release that which is no longer serving us, that there will be contentment, there will be some enjoyment and some sense of fulfillment and sense of your cups flowing over. And so when I look at all of this here, I feel that it is really a very timely reading for this full moon. And knowing that the conflicts that you're experiencing, that you have the ability to be able to move past them and not to let your fears keep you bound, not to let those fears, that which keeps you stuck in that same spot. This may need to look at interactions within relationships. It may need to look at some addictive issues, or it is relating to fears, and it's our fears that often keep us bound in situations that we do not want to be in. But once we've released those fears and changed our perspective, that there will be enjoyment, contentment, and a greater sense of being connected with the all, which is really, that's what we want to have all the time, right? We want to feel connected, and we want to feel, have that faith and allow ourselves to be guided by spirit. So some inner work to do, lots of soul learning, and positive outcomes. Acknowledging the growth that we have already had, which I feel is very important and we don't often do. Acknowledge the growth that we've already achieved. And being mindful of letting go of those chains, those bonds that keep us in situations that are really no longer serving us anymore. So I hope that you have enjoyed this tarot reading for the full moon in the month of October. And if you've liked it, if you were able to get anything out of this, please do leave a comment in the section below. I hope that you receive some guidance that you were looking for. Once again, my name is Lorraine Appleyard, and this is Soul Light Solutions. And please do hit the subscribe button to get further updates, and hit the like button also. I thank you very much for watching. I wish you all very many blessings, and may you walk with spirit. Bye for now.